Hello and welcome. This is the online edition of Financial Opportunities Forum since we are not able to have in-person gatherings because of the current lockdowns. So this is the second attempt from my side to have an online FOF. Hopefully it's better than the first one. So today's talk is titled India is opening up and so is the world. I am recording this on May the 13th. And yesterday, most of the country has heard the Prime Minister on television. And this talk is not so much about the economic package announced yesterday, although we'll briefly mention that. But the key message, at least for me, is something else. Let's listen in.
लेकिन थकना, हारना, टूटना, बिखरना मानव को मंजूर नहीं है। सतर्क रहते हुए ऐसी जंग के सभी नियमों का पालन करते हुए अब हमें बचना भी है और आगे बढ़ना भी है। साथियों, सभी एक्सपर्ट्स बताते हैं, साइंटिस्ट बताते हैं कि कोरोना लंबे समय तक हमारे जीवन का हिस्सा बना रहेगा। लेकिन साथ ही हम ऐसा भी नहीं होने दे सकते कि हमारी जिंदगी सिर्फ और सिर्फ कोरोना के इर्द गिर्द ही सिमट कर रह जाए। हम मास्क पहनेंगे, 2 गज दूरी का पालन करेंगे, लेकिन अपने लक्ष्यों को दूर नहीं होने देंगे। इसलिए लॉकडाउन का चौथा चरण, लॉकडाउन 4, पूरी तरह नए रंग रूप वाला होगा, नए नियमों वाला होगा।
And this is not restricted to one individual or one party. Chief ministers across the board gradually are coming round to the view that life must go on despite coronavirus. Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has said this, Mr. Ashok Gehlot has said similar things. Most of the chief ministers pushed for starting some economic activity, even things like liquor shops to boost up revenue. So gradually everyone is coming around to the view that life must go on and economic activity must carry on. And this is not restricted to India. So the US president, in his own style, announced opening up of the country with the opening up of his own golf course. So that was interesting. But it's not restricted to a golf course. Many states in the US are opening up with the direction of the state governors. And wherever governors are resisting opening up, or wherever local officials are resisting starting of economic activity, there have been protests. So Texas lawmakers have protested against the Texas governor, and they have defied lockdowns and gone and had haircuts, and they are pushing for opening up of the business. Elon Musk, for example, is protesting in California and wanting to start his car factory. And even in badly affected countries, so Spain among the worst affected countries, daily cases have come down, daily deaths have come down, and they are opening up. Italy, cases are coming down, deaths are coming down, they are opening up. And it's not just that government says, okay, business is allowed to open up. People have pent up demand, people want to get back to life and get back to normalcy. And I'm not just talking about the lines that we saw outside liquor stores, also, although that was interesting, but even other things, things that one would otherwise be surprised. How is there demand for such a thing? So a theme park, Disneyland tickets in Shanghai sold out in minutes once they announced a reopening. Uh, Cruises in the US for August, people are buying tickets for those. So everyone who said, "Oh, this is a new world, we will never get back to normal," they have some research to do. So, despite the large shift in narrative from just containing the virus or all the time talking about virus, COVID, people are now talking about economic activity reviving. But there is still a large section of people who worry about the second wave, third wave, fourth wave. Uh, do we have enough ventilators? Do we have enough personal protective equipment for medical workers? Do we have enough supply of masks? Uh, do we have testing infrastructure in place before we open up? Or Spanish flu came in various waves, and then the Great Depression, initially stock prices fell a bit, and then finally they ended up 90% lower than what they were at the beginning. So there are enough things people worry about. So let's look at some of these things. So second wave, we have seen media reports like Singapore caught off guard by a second coronavirus wave. Now I don't know what a second wave is, because this is the graph of daily new cases, and uh, daily deaths have been either 0, 1 or 2. Uh, on no particular day has Singapore seen number of deaths crossing 2, as per worldometer charts that I'm showing on screen today. So all this data is from worldometer website. So a lot of you may be tracking that. So I've just taken some screen grabs from the website uh, for people and for this presentation. So I don't see any specific second wave in Singapore based on this chart. Again, people spoke about South Korea, second wave, uh, country struggles to contain new outbreak and things like that. This is the uh, daily new cases. Now, on the right hand side, maybe you see a small increase in around May 9th in terms of daily new cases, but it's nowhere similar to what people saw in Feb and March. Now, those kind of wiggles one can see after opening up, and which should be broadly okay. Even in terms of number of daily deaths, either it's again 0 or 1 or 2 in the recent days in South Korea. Uh, and Sweden, again, a country which had no lockdowns, uh, where people were fearing exponentially increasing number of cases. Okay, cases increased from early March to somewhere in April, but then things have plateaued out, even without any lockdown whatsoever. So even there, daily cases are flatlining, and daily deaths, in fact, if you can call it that, have been trending downwards in a way. So most of the coronaviruses, the first SARS, the current SARS, swine flu, bird flu, all of these are in a way seasonal infections. Typically they come down in summer. So it's not, in the initial days, obviously there was a genuine worry. We saw the visuals of Italy, we saw the visuals of uh, places in Iran, in Wuhan, in China, New York, and things like that. So we did not want to overwhelm our hospitals. But uh, by now we have got used to the disease in some manner. We know what to do and how to carry on with life with the disease prevailing. And people keep talking about ventilators, PPE, masks. Our Prime Minister also addressed this. So in India, we have started production of PPE and masks. He gave some numbers, 200,000 a day kind of things. And ventilators actually were not really required. In fact, medical professionals are recommending not to put people immediately on ventilators, and just putting on simple oxygen is turning out to be better than putting people on ventilators. So even if a small uptick comes after opening up, I don't think it will be anywhere close to the first round of panic that we saw. And we are prepared now in terms of PPE, masks, social distancing, and things like that. And testing, surprisingly, uh, in the US, many sites are actually closing down because the demand is not there. So while US has ramped up capacity, but what do you test? You cannot test the entire population every single day. Finally, people who have symptoms or people who suspect something will get themselves tested. Everyone is not going to go and get nasal swabs every day or something like that. So although testing facilities are there, people just don't want to go and get themselves tested to that extent. So finally, given the time lag of 3 to 4 months, people have, countries have, administrations have ramped up the testing capacity, and wherever testing will be needed, it will be provided. I don't think that should be so much of an issue to open up. And remember why we locked down in the first place. We locked down to flatten the curve, which is what as a world we have achieved in terms of flattening the curve. We never claimed that the virus would go away because of the lockdown. So after flattening the curve, after giving hospitals and governments chance to build up capacity and to uh, have some sense of how to go about it, we have given adequate time, and the world is now moving into the next phase in terms of restarting economic activity. So there will always be people who will worry about something and will say, oh, we should always buy gold or we should buy farmland because cities will be congested, and oh, in Great Depression stock prices fell close to 90% and things like that. I don't think that much of gloom and doom is required. I'm not saying we have crossed the bottom or we prices will only go up in one direction. Stick to your asset allocation. Uh, be prepared to stay invested for the long run, but don't get into too much pessimism. uh, our prime minister spoke about not being pessimistic. He's in fact talking about big bang reforms and kickstarting the economy, but world over there are many positives, so let's look at the positives. So in 2008-9, and if you have seen the uh, movie Too Big to Fail, the documentary, and where uh, Congress and Senate and all were struggling to have a $700 billion bailout kind of thing. People were just not willing to vote in for $700 billion of TARP and things like that. But this time round, people have been writing checks in the trillions of dollars. Even India has announced a huge economic package yesterday. Further, rupee has depreciated, which is good for exporters. Input prices are low, be it crude, be it metals. So unless you are a iron ore company or a ONGC, broadly, uh, it's good for people who have to purchase their inputs for manufacturing. Again, some of the weaker players will get shaken out after the current crisis, and competitive pressures will come down. Wage growth will be muted for a while. So don't ignore the positives. Just don't look at the negatives and just go into a shell. And finally, we have seen there is pent up demand, and it could manifest in all sorts of ways. So maybe you could see increased demand for two-wheelers and cars and things like that, given that people may not want to use public transport too much. Again, all this money is lying in people's pockets. Whatever money is being thrown out by the governments and the central banks the world over, that is lying into the pockets of corporations and individuals to really spend down the road. So don't ignore the stimulus and the pent up demand. So in summary, keep your masks ready. Sometime soon you may have to head out of home and head back to work. Uh, thank you for listening. Unfortunately, in this medium, we can't take questions, but we'll be happy to hear your feedback or read your feedback on the YouTube channel comments. Thank you so much.
Whenever things got rough, I always remember what my father used to say.
Running a business does test a man, my son. There are ups and downs, glorious highs, and sometimes a low that leaves you feeling defeated.
The character of a man and the character of a business are not very different, are they?
Yes. But when the chips are down, we must stand up, dust ourselves off, and motor on.
Volatility. It's a funny thing. It makes you question yourself and wonder if you've made all the right decisions.
Sure, you can question some of your decisions, but stay steadfast on your goals.
Dad always said, there are no shortcuts and no quick profits.
There are no free lunches, are there? There is only one
Right way.
At PPFAS, we think like Rahul and his father. That volatility is a fact of running a business. And buying equity shares is like owning a part of that business. We use value investing principles to manage your money. This means we invest in the right businesses at reasonable prices and for a longer term.
PPFAS Mutual Fund. There's only one right way. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.